it's really satisfying too.
Yeah, I've been interested in getting into boxing. I tried some pro wrestling for a little bit. I went to a pro wrestling school for a few months. Yeah.
What about, have you ever thought about actual grappling? Like taking jujitsu or
I
any
thought
kind of
about it, but it
grappling
seemed like I would
lessons?
get hurt easily.
Well, you could, but you're a smart guy. I think you'd figure it out pretty quickly. It's a very unusual thing because you think of people like if you thought of someone who does jujitsu, you think like a jockish type person. But the majority of them that are really good are really nerds.
Yeah, I've met a couple people, and they're all like they're similar to me. They're just kind of like the other side of me. Where it's like, oh, you like comic books and video games too? You just beat people up.
Well, they don't beat people up; they strangle them, they get them in arm bars. But when I say nerd, I mean it with all due respect. That they're because I'm a nerd in a lot of ways with some things, but they're very like jiu-jitsu geeks. They're like people that are obsessed with anything else, whether it's music or video games, or they become obsessed, but they're doing it in this physical way that requires you to have a deep understanding of all the potential moves. It's very complicated in terms of like your ability to, when you're rolling with someone, like say if I roll with a guy and I know he's like a brown belt or a black belt or something like that, we're having an argument, like it's like a conversation with techniques, and the more of a vocabulary you have and the stronger your use of those words are, particularly the basic words, the better your chance of winning the argument. That's what it's like, almost like this really complicated debate with physical leverage and
Does that
choking and
translate to
strangling.
your comedy? Because I feel like that kind of reminds me of your style.
It definitely it's like a lot of what I try to do is like figure things out in a joke form. Right, I try like what? Why is that? What's that? So that's what I've been trying to do over the last few years, I think. So in that sense, it is kind of similar. That's because you're trying to figure something out. Like it's like a puzzle. Like I know there's some juice in this puzzle. Like how do I turn this into a bit? Why do I think this is funny? Like what do I think I can say out of this that's funny, and also people go, oh yeah, huh. And if I could do that, so in that sense, yeah, it's kind of like but it's very it's humbling. It's very humbling because you're getting strangled and
you're losing power.
You also just know, like my instructor's John Jock Machado. He's this very famous jiu-jitsu black belt world champion, super nice guy, like one of the nicest guys on the planet. But every time I grapple with him, it's just like it's a matter of time before he catches me with something. It's not whether or not I'm ever going to catch him. That's not going to happen. It's just a total different world. And a lot of that is his deep knowledge and understanding something. And you being a smart guy, I think you'd get into it, especially because you love pro wrestling. So it's like at least you have a mindset for watching guys do things to each other and manipulate each other, which is half of what's exciting about pro wrestling, right? Some guy pulling off some crazy move. Even if it's orchestrated, it's still a crazy thing that these guys are pulling off on each other.
Yeah, I mean, I like that more because then I'm like, oh, they're friends and they work this out together.
My problem is that I know they're getting hurt and then not even really fighting, right? I mean, they're hitting each other for sure. They're doing things to each other and slamming each other. It's all real. But those guys get banged up, and they do it way more. So if you're watching a guy who's fighting in the UFC, they have practices that they can control. So if they know that they have a hurt, back or a hurt foot, they'll put shit and instant pats on. They won't kick. They'll do things where they work around whatever injury they have when they're in the camp. You can't do that when dudes are throwing you. You got a bad back and some guy's fucking picking you up and bang.
Well, they will, they'll adjust what moves they will do. But I do really like your point about at least they can take some time off.
They can definitely adjust. I'm sure. Yeah, they can definitely make an agreement with each other. Hey, don't slam me. My back is fucked. But those guys get beat the fuck up. Talking to Dallas Page and Jake the Snake, two guys that I've had on the podcast, they were amazing, and especially Jake's story is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
When he tells you his story, and what a nice guy. Big, giant, nice man. Like, just genuinely friendly and happy that everything's going well for him now. Crazy. But that's a rough business is my point. Like, I'm way rather, like, real grappling. Like, I feel like real grappling, for like, if I was going to tell a person like what would be safer for your body, I think pro wrestling's harder. I think it's harder on you.
I can see that.
Dude, they get slammed. You watch some of that stuff, like, knowing what you know now about brain damage, and knowing what you know now about that it's not even concussions necessarily as much as it's subconcussive trauma that doesn't knock you unconscious but just rattles your fucking head, and the repeated impacts of those. Yeah. Those guys are getting that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, no, I go back and sometimes I watch some older wrestling, and it really makes me cringe because you got a lot of guys taking all these chair shots straight to the face.
Straight to the face.
Yeah, I saw Ken Shamrock take this one to the head that sounded like a gunshot. It was crazy.
Yeah.